Come here! Let's go. Give me a flipper.
You know what? You ready?
This is an amount of episodes. One of all the episodes of Amateur Hour, this is one of them.
And that's our intro today. So, it's been quite a while since we last spoke about flag football and other topics on this thing. If you can't tell from the ambient background noise, we are at the Buffalo Wild Wings here in sunny, hot, muggy, awful Beaumont, Texas. So,
Yes.
Troy, how's the off-season going for you?
Got a lot of getting fat going on and being lazy, and that's what happens.
Yes.
You know, this league is built on off-season workout.
Oh, yeah. Well, first thing that we'll tell you guys about is the next tournament we're going to have will be on August 17th and 18th. It's the Football is Coming 5 tournament, so it's the fifth anniversary of, well, the first time we tried that. Do you remember what our very first event was?
The very first event that we had was not the Football is Coming 1 tournament. It was the sign-up scrimmage Saturday, the S3.
Sunday. It was sign-up scrimmage Sunday.
The S3.
And that's when we met Carl Lambeth.
Johnny Ray
and
Lively.
Johnny Ray Lively. And there was one little redheaded fella out there with an umbrella hat because he could not get in the sun.
I think Phil was out there.
I think Phil Spate was there.
Yeah.
So we met all those nice people at that event. And I remember being very concerned when we actually had the tournament, I think the following weekend or a couple weeks later, that it would not look like football. And I think I even asked you, does this look like football?
I was concerned. Because, not with the tournament so much, because the tournament had some good teams. We had the 409 boys played in it, and the Showstoppers played. So we had some good teams in the tournament. I wasn't worried about the tournament. I was worried about the league leading up to that, what was going to show up for the league. That's what had me worried. And
yeah,
but going back,
I think the league was a bigger concern because I think our thought was, if the tournament doesn't pan out for whatever reason, we can scrap this and not do it at all.
Yeah.
But once that worked out, it's like we're kind of into the league and reserving fields and stuff. It became like, well, I sure hope people sign up.
Yeah, and with that sign-up scrimmage we had, I felt like the herd was basically, we were like, I felt like we were on this pedestal, and these other teams were just there to see, like, what do we do? And we were there, the team, to teach everybody what to do. And that was, it was weird because that's not what we are. We're the team that's just part of it. We weren't. But at this moment, we were the best team. We were the experienced team. We were showing people how to play, what to do. And it was kind of fun because it was like, hey, look at us. We actually have this flag football clout compared to these guys that have never played before.
Right.
So that didn't worry me because we had to play and run it and teach everybody at the same time.
Yeah, and also, when we very first started all this, our initial videoing procedure was going to be to video one game per week and make it the game of the week, and that's the only game that's online.
That lasted 1 week.
Because everybody in the whole league wanted their little football game online.
Yep.
Which is hard. It's a difficult thing to do, and I'm pretty proud that we've done it for so long. And I say that to segue into the next part of this little opening segment. I don't like to beat up on the tough league so much anymore because I feel like it's kind of over and done with. But they're about to start a thing called She Tough, in which probably one all-female team will play against no one, and it won't be a thing.
Wasn't that a character on the Thundercats?
I think it
She
was.
Tough?
She Tough was notorious for talking a bunch of smack and really wanting to do a lot about the Thundercats, and then she just didn't show up.
She just didn't show up.
You know how much she costed, though? $65 for the best Thundercat in the world. But, and I like people that have aspirations and, things they want to do and neat ideas. But the follow-up on those things is what really tells you who people are and what they're all about. Because I'll say that we have followed up on, I think, everything we ever told people we were going to do, or at least we made a good attempt at it.
Yeah.
I don't see that with everybody else, Just like right now, today, Troy and I got a text message, and it says, it's on Facebook somewhere, and it's some guy, I think named Rashad Lewis, who...
You want me to read it?
Yeah, just read it.
I'm going to read. This is the post from. It says, for more info, contact Rashad Lewis, whatever. And it says SETX Flag Football League, which is a registered name and business with a 501c4 nonprofit backing. This says, the whole month of July, we are signing teams up for the Flag Football League. If you haven't put a team together, do so. Cash prize for Super Bowl champs. Inbox for more info.
Yeah, and that would all be fine and good, except we're Southeast Texas Flag Football League, and that is not our tournament.
Not at all.
So that tells me right there.
They are going to have 2 30-minute quarters.
That's what the sign says,
so
right?
I don't know what the other half of the game is going to be like.
Yeah, just to take you guys back to elementary for a second, it takes 4 quarters to make a whole something. So if you play 2 30-minute quarters, there's still
you're only at halftime.
A whole other half to go. So I'm assuming you're playing a 2-hour game. I'm not real sure.
Yeah, that's a lot. It's a lot of football.
But, I see stuff like this all the time. People want to start these things, and they're about half thought through with no real dedication to it because, Troy and I and my poor mother and Walt and Blake and Aaron and all our board members, we spend a lot of time at the field videoing these games all for free. That's why we constantly have different board members quitting and joining because it's hard to do. And I don't think these guys go into it with that. I really think they want to get your money. So if you're listening to me right now, I'm not saying this person's a bad guy or anything like that, but it sure seems like he just kind of wants your money. So play in it if you want to, but I'm telling you.
Just know it's not associated with us at all.
We are not that thing. We're Southeast Texas Flag Football League. We're a nonprofit. Your money doesn't go back to you. It's not a cash prize, and it never will be as long as I can help it.
Yeah.
But you will get cool shirts, you'll get trophies, you'll get belts and neat things like that. You'll have a good time, and the games will be on YouTube for you to go watch later on, which I think is worth it.
Hell, and they're on iTunes now. The video game, you can watch it on iTunes.
You can watch it on iTunes as well.
We're up class.
That's right.
Up class. I don't know if that's a word. Up class.
We are up class.
Uptown, high class.
Uptown funk.
Uptown funk
you up. But also there's
we're white.
Yeah, that's no joke on that. So that made me think of this thing that happened a long time ago. There was a team called the Demons that was a quote semi-pro tackle football team in Orange, and one of my best friends played for the team, and he helped coach it for a while. Well, the guy that ran the team's name was Chip. I can't remember Chip's last name, but Chip had promised these guys over and over again all these cool things they would get. It's like, yeah, we're going to have fans show up, you'll get to play in front of people. It's real tackle football, and you guys will actually end up making some money off of it because it is semi-pro. So you'll get an amount of the, whatever people pay at the gate. I'll get your uniforms and everything else. Well, guess what? They had to pay for their uniforms. They had to pay for their pads. They had to pay for their helmets. And do you think any of them actually profited one dime at all from any of that?
Of course not.
No. And Chip, like I said, was sort of a shyster. Basically squatted at my buddy's house, staying in his bedroom, didn't pay rent forever, and then just sort of left. That's kind of the people that do this sometimes. They're not. I hate to say it, but your interests are not what they have in mind. What they have in mind is making a little bit of money and maybe getting famous. Probably the latter is what they care about more.
Yeah.
I know I'm not famous. I'll never be famous. I'll probably never have a whole lot of money. But I do care about the league, and I kind of care about people getting screwed. So, that I do care about.
We are known for screwing people, but it's not what we do. It's not in our game plan. It's not in our mission statement. We are just known for that, apparently.
I don't think we're known for that. I think that
A
when
few
people
say we are known for
I think
it,
that
yes.
when people don't get things exactly their way, they say that it's a defense mechanism, and those people can basically go to hell.
I think what that shows is that I think what that shows is we're a very fair league. When people get mad about certain things because they're not getting their way, it shows that we're not catering to one person. We're catering to everybody. Right,
and I think that we don't give in and just give them their way. It actually gives us more credit than otherwise. Now,
well, speaking of like things that we do, we have done things and we've discontinued things that haven't worked, like all-star games. Yeah, people like to be a part of an all-star team, but nobody wants to play an all-star game, so we've discontinued that. Shirts for people to buy. We had shirts.
Yeah.
Nobody bought them, so we stopped doing that. So, we're not just going to do things and waste money or waste time. We're going to do things that the league wants to do.
Exactly.
And I think that's our main goal.
And our main thing, and this is why we want to hear from you guys. I know several of you listen to it, or at least, one guy listens to it 40 times. I don't know. But if you have anything you want from the league, let us know. Walt's now the president, but he's awesome at it. He's got some really good ideas, and he's there to listen. He wants us to do. He wants the league to do great.
Yeah.
So if you have anything like that, let us know. But I say all that to bring it to kind of a funny thing. There is a new indoor tackle league here in Beaumont. And I don't know anything about those guys. They seem like they're in it for the good, I guess. I don't know, but they're nice enough. But it caught my eye that one of their team names was Calvary, because the tagline for Calvary says, "Here we come," or something to that effect.
It's an odd choice for a football team name.
Now, Calvary is a mountain in the Middle East where Jesus was crucified. I'm not going to get very religious with you, but that's what Calvary is.
That's a fact. That's a historical fact. Yes.
It's Mount Calvary. Cavalry, Cavalry,
a different word,
means like people that are on horseback that are charging into battle. Generally,
military.
It's a military unit, if you will. Like I think the tanks are now cavalry, basically. Yeah. I don't know that.
But
for
it's
sure.
basically a horseback.
But it's a battle unit.
Yes, a horseback
cavalry,
battle unit.
Much more in line with team sports. I thought it was very curious that these people were called Calvary. So I asked on their Facebook. I was like, "How did you guys come up with the team name?" And I got a response. And Troy, I'll let you read the response I got to the question of how did you guys come up with the team name Calvary.
I'm going to read this verbatim, word for word, as it's written to Cody Courts in a text message. Did you say the guy's name?
Yeah.
Here is the
Facebook message.
Here's the Facebook message. Hello, Cody! Exclamation point. Thank you for your question. Capital question. All right. The team name Calvary has meanings for this team. The name was given birth many years ago. I had a team called the Beaumont Thunder, which after our inaugural season accepted a bowl game offer from the Houston Calvary, which was a professional law enforcement football team. We only had a week notice, and most of the team had to go back on their regular work schedules. The day of the game at Aldine ISD Stadium, we only had 16 players. They had 50-plus players. I prayed all the way until the morning of the game, asking God to cover us.
Now, hang on. You're playing against a team with a holy name, and you're asking God to cover you. That's awfully presumptuous, but go ahead.
Yes. God chooses who he wants to win.
Well.
Next. We played a phenomenal game this day. 3 exclamation points. The greatest game I've ever coached or been a part of. Apart. One word, apart. So he was not there, apparently.
But he was a part.
Yeah. We had 7 sacks. Defense held the Calvary to negative 30 yards, ... We scored 41 points. Don't know how many points they scored. We totally swept the field. The hat you see, Atari's, the actual hat that the coach awarded me on behalf of the team. I don't know what that means. We came together after this game in good sportsmanship and prayed together as men of faith and brotherhood. I was so touched spiritually on the field this day that I look at that football field as Calvary, the place where all of our old ways can die and be given rebirth. It's amazing that although we beat them up physically that day, all our players did it respectfully by having class, helping the player up, not hooping and hollering, having discipline. So today we have this team and group of men that are the same as the old Thunder, with all the same qualities of a men of God or a men of God. We are Calvary, and Calvary is here. God bless you, my brother.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a lot to unload there. For one thing, I thought it was a little bit odd that they beat the team and then the coach gave him a hat.
He got beat so bad that he just said, "Here's my hat and take my team name."
And so he, poor guy, he attached a picture of the hat to the email, and the hat says Cavalry.
Cavalry.
With a horseshoe for the C.
There's no cross. There's no L before the V.
There's no mountain. There's no
mountain.
No diagram in the Middle East. It's cavalry with a horseshoe for the C. I can't stress anymore that cavalry is a military unit where people on horseback generally charged into battle. A much more appropriate name for a sports team than cavalry,
which is a mountain.
So that happened. I just want everyone to know that there's someone out there floating around that thinks those two words are the same thing.
The same exact word. It's fantastic. I love it.
I didn't. All I could do was like the comment and go on about my dad. I don't know what else to do. He likes to sound like a very nice dude. They really destroyed that cop team that I'm sure was full of athletes.
Yes, because we've seen the cop team out at flag football.
By the way, if you're beating someone by 41, maybe let them have a few yards. I don't know why you would do that to somebody, but okay. I mean, you beat them so bad they gave you their hat. So
exactly.
Anyway,
I'm excited for Calvary Baptist Church on Sunday.
Well, I don't know. I just don't know anymore. I don't know anything. I hear that they represent Calgary. Or maybe it's Calgary. I don't know.
Exactly. Who knows now?
But, okay, well, in our next segment, we're going to do kind of a fun thing. We're going to talk about Dynasties. So I think you guys will like it. It's a pretty broad topic that we can really get a lot out of. So listen to it, leave us your comments, and we'll be back in just a minute. All right, welcome back after the arbitrary music. So in this segment, we're going to discuss sports, mainly dynasties.
Yes.
So Troy,
yes,
I hear that you have your working definition for a dynasty.
Thank you. Yeah, I think when I first really heard the term dynasty in a sports reference, you remember the Beckett, the card, the catalog that had the book magazine came out every month that had the prices of all the cards, sports cards.
Yes, that had the sports cards worth.
Yeah, and it was the Beckett, whatever it was called. I remember seeing there was a picture of like a drawing of the Green Bay Packers in the '60s with Bart Starr and all these guys, and it said Dynasty on it, and I did not know what that meant. I said, "What does that mean? What does that have to do with football?" And I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah.
So I asked my dad, and he was like, "Well, that means they were so good for so long. It was considered a dynasty of a team that played so well for so long, was so good and undefeated." And just not they were undefeated, but winning championships over a certain amount of time frame.
Right.
They were a dynasty. So it got me. I mean, and that was the first time I had ever heard it, and even figured out what does that even mean. So I figured, why not start with a dynasty that was on the Packers of the '60s.
Okay. Well, can I say my definition
go
for
ahead,
dynasty first?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't really define it. I'm just saying what I thought. Yeah.
I think that's sounds right. But I've thought about this a lot because it's on a lot of sports shows. A lot of people talk about it, which makes us very original. But to me, there's so many variables you could insert into it, like expectations and how good everybody else was, what else was going on in the world, how big your sport was at the time. I mean, because honestly, how many 1930s NFL dynasties do you really think about?
Exactly, and that's why when I started doing this list, I didn't start back in the 20s when the Yankees were winning. There were only like 6 teams, and I didn't count that.
Your sport has to matter.
Yeah.
Nobody here wants to hear about the was that the Mannheim? No, that's the orchestra. The Steamroller. Man, I can't remember the name of the football team, but they were the Steamroller. But nobody thinks about that.
Yeah.
So the best I could ever come up with for my definition of a dynasty is when I hear it, I think dynasty. It's the best I got.
Yeah, you think winner. And there's some on here that are very obvious, and some that I think are questionable. And I think maybe we can see what do we consider, and if on my list, if you have more to add to it, and I want to see what we think.
Are we sticking with NFL on here? Or are we doing other
I've got
sports?
NFL, Major League Baseball, and NBA.
Okay. All right. Well, go ahead. Start us off.
So when I think of dynasty, I think of the Packers of the '60s. Now they only won 2 Super Bowls, but they won NFL championships before there was Super Bowls. So,
right.
So I think they won like 4, maybe 5 championships in the '60s, and to me, that's a dynasty, and that's what I consider the first sports dynasty, because that's
when you say that, I agree, because using my definition.
Yeah.
I think of it immediately because I think of Bart Starr, I think of the Ice Bowl, I think of Vince Lombardi, I think of the fact that the trophy is called the Lombardi Trophy.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. I think a 60s Packers dynasty sounds right.
Okay. Go into the 70s. I guess we'll go do all NFL first, then we'll go to other sports. I was going to go in time frame. But
you do anything you want to do.
The Steelers of the 70s. They won 4 Super Bowls in the 70s. I don't think any of them were back-to-back. No, I think 2 that were back-to-back, but there were 4 throughout the late 70s.
Right, and I agree with that. When I think of the 70s in football, I think of the Steelers. But also, and it's because I'm a fan, I think of the Cowboys in the 70s because they won 2 Super Bowls, and they had a lot of good teams that got really close, I think. So, to me, dynasties in the 70s are Steelers, Cowboys. That's all I can really think of. Other teams may have won Super Bowl in the 70s, I don't know, but those are the ones I remember, and I remember more of the Steelers.
Yeah, and the only reason why I put the Steelers above the Cowboys is because they beat them a couple of times in the Super Bowl. The Cowboys never beat the Steelers, and also they had a name for a defense, the Steel Curtain defense.
You're right.
Yeah.
A lot of that, and Terry Bradshaw is a much more recognizable name than Roger Staubach.
Well, now, current day, yes. Back then, I bet not. He was
maybe not, but
Roger Staubach was a Heisman Trophy winner. Went to the Navy. He was a much bigger
Let's just think about
name.
Personality, then.
Yeah,
and also, the Immaculate Reception.
Yeah.
They had a lot of stuff going on for them. So that's kind of why also with dynasties.
Also the Cowboys created the Hail Mary.
Sure,
So,
but I don't.
Yeah,
but that's not what I think of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I think of Franco Harris.
Yep.
So that's what I'm saying with the dynasties as far as it's so hard to define because, it's just you kind of know it when you hear it. I hate that definition for stuff, but that's one that I think falls into that. But go ahead with your...
Okay, well, then let's go to the 80s. The 49ers of the 80s won 4 Super Bowls in the 80s.
Yeah. They had their own offense they brought in.
Yeah.
It changed football forever.
Yeah.
A lot of people, arguably the best quarterback ever.
Best receiver
receiver ever, inarguably.
Yeah.
Montana, Rice, Walsh.
And it wasn't like 4 Super Bowls in 5 years or 6 years. It was from 82 to 89 or 90 or whatever, where they were winning. So it was the entire decade that the 49ers were the relevant football team.
And, especially until recently, I say recently, in the last 20 years, a lot of teams hung their hat on their great teams that played in the 80s, but you would never think about them because the 49ers were so good. Like, Dallas did have a lot of good teams in the 80s, but they couldn't beat the 49ers.
Yeah, the Redskins were good, and they won a couple of Super Bowls
as
well.
The Patriots went to the Super Bowl in the 80s.
The Bears as well.
The Bears did, but nobody thinks of the Bears in the 80s as a dynasty.
No, of course not.
No, you need, like you said, it's so hard to be a dynasty. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead.
And we'll move to the 90s. Now, Cowboys of the 90s, they won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years.
Yeah.
I think that qualifies as. I think when they won 2 in a row, I think that constitutes a dynasty. You win 2 in a row, that's hard to do in any sport. So when you get to 3 and 4 years, that's pretty impressive. That's dynasty.
Also, if they had just let's say they won 3 years in a row and were kind of average crap in the other years, I don't know if that would be a dynasty. But Dallas was good for, most of the decade. And was I think they lost the NFC Championship in the year.
In the year that San Francisco with the 49ers won, yeah.
Correct. So, Favre won 2 Super Bowls in the 90s.
He only won 1.
He only won 1, you're right.
Yeah.
Elway won 2.
Elway won 2 in
Elway won 2 in the 90s.
But do we consider that a dynasty?
No, not at all. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's such an easy difference.
Yeah.
When you think about
it. 2 Super Bowls in a row. If I just even mention it as my criterion, I still don't think of them as a dynasty.
Right, so, that's what I'm saying. You don't even think about it. I don't think of the Broncos as a dynasty in the 90s. I just think John Elway got to win 2 Super Bowls. He retired on top. Pretty cool. Terrell Davis had a lot to do with it.
Yep.
That's how I feel about that team. Hell, what were the other teams? The Giants won a Super Bowl in the early 90s.
Giants won, yeah.
And I love Bill Parcells.
Yeah.
But that's not what I think of when I think of a dynasty. I think Bill Parcells took something that was damaged and fixed it.
Yeah.
All right, so I like this a lot. So what's our next one?
Well, I think the next one covers 2 decades, and that's the Patriots from 2000 to now. They've won 6 Super Bowls in 20 years.
Yeah.
And they've been in the playoffs every year, but twice.
They've gone to 9 Super Bowls.
They've gone to 9. They've won 6. And they've made the playoffs every year except for 2 years in that time frame. In one of those years, they won 11 games and didn't make the playoffs.
Right. So
that's dynastic to me. It has to be.
Yeah.
Over that time frame.
Well, look, I'm not going to sit here and act like it's some controversy in my mind.
Yeah.
To me, that's the greatest dynasty in all sports I know about.
Well, even though they went, did they go 8, 9 seasons without going to a Super Bowl? In between there, they still.
But man, they were in the playoffs and they were.
They only missed.
They were really good if they weren't great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to me, I don't think that's. I can't think of another sport or another thing where that's happened. I just can't think of it.
I think when it started off, it had the chance to not be because they won the Super Bowl. The next year, with Brady at the helm, they didn't even make the playoffs. And then they go on a run of winning 2, and then had some time off of not making the Super Bowl. Then they've been to the Super Bowl every year the last 5 years or whatever. So,
but it's telling though, because is there any other quarterback head coach duo that you know of in the league now, or maybe even ever, that have been more obsessed with football?
No, of course not.
You know what I mean?
When you think of these 2 guys, you only think of football.
And then also they had good ownership, that took care of everybody. They've always had good general managers. They're a well-run place. But so in that, almost 20-year time span now, I think you had some mini dynasties, right? Baltimore.
Well, but I don't know, because they won a Super Bowl and then they didn't win another one for 12 years.
Okay.
So
you're probably right. I'm just throwing it out there.
Because that could be 2 different time frames almost. So only one player was on that team on both of those, and that's Ray Lewis.
Are there any more multiple Super Bowl winners in that time frame?
And which one? What are you talking? Which that 10-year time?
2000 to 2019.
Pittsburgh.
But I don't think anybody would say they were a dynasty.
Yeah, because they won 2 Super Bowls, and they were. I don't know if they weren't consecutive. They went to 3 of them in that time frame.
But doesn't that tell us something about a dynasty, that if there's another one going on at the same time, you can't be co-dynasties?
Yeah, exactly.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's pretty neat. All right, do you have basketball stuff?
Well, I do have one football in that is I consider it controversial. I put a question mark by it, and I said the Bills of the 90s. Is that a dynasty? You make it to 4 Super Bowls in a row. You don't win a championship, but you went to 4. Well,
for me, I my brain says no automatically, so I'm just going to say no, because for one thing, you've already told me there were other dynasties going on during that. And do they supersede the other dynasties? Well, no, they never won
the
it.
one that the Cowboys beat them twice.
And also, they kind of bridged two other dynasties. I mean, it's. I just don't see it. For me, it's a no.
And that's why I put a question mark, because I thought that's interesting because, I mean, you made it to the Super Bowl 4. Nobody's ever done that.
Right.
Nobody's made it to 3 in a row. They made it to 4 in a row.
It's impressive. It's neat. It's not a dynasty to me.
It's tough. That's why that's fun. That's a fun argument, I think.
I agree.
Because you could talk about people in Buffalo would say, of course.
Do you think it's a dynasty?
If you don't have a championship, you can't be a dynasty.
I agree. You can't. You have to have at least a couple. To me, the minimum, the bare minimum, if you're going to quantify it, is 2.
Yeah. But
and
I mean,
you
just making
need
it
to
to
be
4
you need to be good on those other years if you only won 2.
Yeah.
So no,
it's fun. I like this.
I hate that. Cause I love Jim Kelly. I love those teams. Honestly,
Thurman Thomas was amazing.
Thurman Thomas was awesome. But dude, no.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
That's tough.
Okay, we doing other sports? That what we're doing?
Yeah, let's go to the NBA. You have the Lakers. I'm going to put these two together because these two run consecutively. The Lakers and the Celtics of the 80s.
The Lakers and Celtics of the 80s. Okay, so you're saying both of them were dynasties?
I'm saying they're both dynasties, and they both ran together because they faced each other. They would beat each other, but they would also win multiple titles in the 80s.
I'm not as good at the history of the NBA as I am with the NFL.
Yeah.
So I like one better than the other. I got to tell you, when I think of the 80s, though, I think more of the Lakers.
Okay.
I think more of Magic than I do of Bird. That might be unfair. I don't know how many championships either team won, but I just think of the Lakers more as that team. Because, like, the way my NBA brain thinks is Lakers, Celtics were always kind of vying for the championship, Pistons for a minute, and then Bulls. So that's just how I, think of that stuff.
Okay, in the 80s, the Lakers won in 1980, 1982, 1985, 1987, and 1988. Those are the NBA championships they won in the 80s. That's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5 championships, and 2 of them were back-to-back.
Right.
So that's a dynasty in basketball.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with that. How many did the Celtics win? Well, while we're waiting on Troy to pull this information up, you may be excited to hear that I've taken on some side projects. One of my there you go. You got it. Go ahead.
The Celtics in the 80s won in 81, 84, and 86. That's 3 in a 6-year time frame.
Right. So, to me, it's Lakers. Like I said, Magic had the bigger personality by far.
Yeah.
They had other players on that team that were, plus it's the freaking Lakers. I mean, the Celtics are a storied NBA franchise, no doubt. But, dude.
The Celtics have 17 championships, and the Lakers have 16. But the Celtics had, 11 in a row in the 50s and 60s. I'm not counting that because there were only, 6 teams in the NBA.
And that's before the NBA was,
yeah,
like what it is. And I loved Larry Bird. I thought Larry was awesome. But, man, Magic had, a cool team, and, it's kind of neat. So, I'll go with, I think the Lakers get the dynasty for that.
Okay.
And I'm going to have to say no, Celtics dynasty.
Really? 3 in 6 years? Okay. That's fine.
I'm going only Lakers. Go ahead.
Well, let's go to the 90s, the Bulls of the 90s. 6 titles in 8 years.
Yeah, I don't think that's arguable.
Yeah,
they're the best player of all time. Maybe.
Okay. Yeah, I agree.
But they had, had Jordan, Pippen. Dude, that team was awesome. It was neat. It was really fun.
It was fun. That was when we were just getting into it. Yeah.
And they were so intense. That was what I liked about the Bulls. If they didn't win a championship, all was lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think there's ever been a team I've ever watched in any sport before that I thought if they don't win the championship, the whole season's meaningless.
Yeah. And that leads me to the team before them, the Pistons.
Yeah.
They won 2 titles. but they're at that time frame, the end of the Lakers and end of Celtics before the Bulls. I don't know if that's a dynasty. They were known as the Bad Boys. They've got a name, the Bad Boys, but I don't know if it's a dynasty.
To me, it's not a dynasty because, like I said, you didn't have – if they could have had a resurgence and won a third, at some point or another, you could maybe say that. But I think they'll
it's too short.
It's just too short. It's not – and it's going to be hard to be a team of bad boys and be a dynasty.
Yeah.
They're going to have to get along.
Yeah.
I'm
going to come back to the Spurs in a minute. The Warriors of the teams. 3 titles.
Yeah, I would say they were a dynasty.
Been to the finals, 4 or 5 years in a row, whatever?
I would say they're like the modern of what's coming in any sport you watch of a dynasty. It's like we're going to align as many big stars as we can and do as best we can for as long as we can, but there's injuries and all these other interesting things. We're going to fight through it because, like Steph Curry, I know people don't like Steph Curry, and I'm glad we're doing the podcast today because I've wanted to talk about how good of a teammate and a leader Steph Curry is. Look, I wanted the Raptors to win. I like Kawhi Leonard. I like how underdog people win sometimes. But, man, when Kevin Durant got hurt and when Klay Thompson got hurt, Steph Curry's reaction of spiking the ball and dude, that guy wanted to win, man. He wanted to win a championship.
I like Steph Curry. I think he's the best shooter we've ever had in the NBA. He plays the game. He plays it fun. He plays it where it's fun to watch. I don't like his mouthpiece. That's the thing I don't like. His little mouthpiece.
I agree.
I like his game.
I
like
agree. His mouthpiece is annoying, but man,
if he's on your team, he's your favorite player.
Right. When you see his reaction to these big stars get hurt, because let me tell you, if Steph Curry got hurt, do you think Kevin Durant would go over there and spike a ball because he couldn't win the game?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't know. Klay's not at the star level they are really, but I don't think there's other stars, a whole lot of them.
Well, but I think if Klay's on another team, he's the best player on the team.
Correct. But I don't think that you have people vying for legendary and best player ever spiking the ball because other stars get hurt because they just want to win a championship.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really telling. That was my favorite moment of the whole finals is when all these guys got hurt and Steph spiked the ball because he's like, I can't do it by myself.
Yeah.
And he wants to win a championship. He's not there just for himself, I like that.
Yeah,
cool.
To me, he's the ultimate underdog.
Yeah.
Being a small guy, going to a small school, and doing something that nobody else can do.
I don't know that this will make a whole lot of sense, but I think of Steph Curry as Tom Brady of basketball a little bit.
That makes, I mean, he was a higher draft pick, obviously, but
you know what I mean, though.
He's undersized for what he does. Yeah.
For the most important part of what he does is cerebral and leadership stuff.
And he can shoot better than anybody.
Well, yeah, but like Brady can throw a football in a way that not many people can do. You know what I mean? They have their thing, but he's not LeBron. He's not Jordan. He's something different.
Yeah, he is. I agree.
All right, go ahead. Give me your other stuff.
The one I go to, and this one, I didn't really think about this. The Spurs are my favorite team in the NBA. Actually, hold on. I want to go back to the Bulls real fast. In between the Bulls' 2 3-peats, you had the Rockets win 2 in a row. But they only won 2 in a row. And that's it.
Right.
Dynasty or not?
No, absolutely not. I love Hakeem Olajuwon.
Yeah.
But no.
Okay. So let's move on to the Spurs. The Spurs have been in the NBA since 1976. They were in the ABA before.
Yeah.
But since they've been in the NBA since 1976, they've only missed the playoffs 4 times.
Yeah.
For the last 18 consecutive seasons, they've won 50-plus games.
Got it.
No other team is even close to that. They've won 50-plus games, 18 straight seasons.
That's pretty unreal.
And they have 5 NBA championships in the last 20 years.
I think that's an all-time dynasty. You cannot. That's almost impossible to do. They haven't missed the playoffs in 43 years. They've only missed the playoffs 4 times in 43 years. Now, I don't know anything about baseball, so
this is
whatever.
basketball.
I know, but I'm saying of all sports, that is the only lifetime dynasty award I'll give.
Yes, I think that's a lifetime. You've only missed the playoffs 4 times in 43 years.
Man, that is a well-run place right there.
And you've won 50-plus games 18 straight years?
That is a well-run place.
That's incredible. I didn't believe it when I read that. I had to go and look, and it's That's absolutely incredible. And
Yeah,
you won
so,
5 titles in the last 20 years. None of them were back-to-back, but
I got to tell you, of all the teams and everything we've talked about during this Dynasty segment, that might be the most impressive.
yeah, because think about all these teams we've talked about. They've had bad seasons.
Oh, dude, when Brady and Belichick leave, Patriots aren't going to be the same.
and
They might still be okay because they have good ownership, but they're not going to be the same.
And even before Brady, they were a laughingstock. Before Drew Bledsoe, they were the stomping ground of the football league.
And after Steph leaves Golden State, and after LeBron,
Lakers are terrible now.
Lakers are terrible now. But
The Bulls aren't any good.
But man, you have this weird faith with the Spurs that Popovich could leave, or whoever else can leave, and they'll kind of always be okay and getting better.
Yeah,
it's weird.
I mean, because they've done it before. So
that might be the best sports franchise I know of.
That's incredible to me. Let's move on to baseball, your favorite sport.
Yeah, go ahead.
And like I said, I'm not going back to the 20s or 30s with all these teams because there were no Latinos throwing curveballs at people back then, so I don't count that.
I don't count it either.
So I'm just going to start in the 90s.
Okay.
Because in the 80s you had the A's, the Reds, the Dodgers, whatever.
Oh, yeah, all those teams.
But in the 90s, the Atlanta Braves, and I'll give some stats for you. The Atlanta Braves. John Smoltz.
What?
David Justice.
Cody Courts with the baseball reference.
So let's go with the Atlanta Braves. Now, they won their division, the East Division, every year from 1995 to 2005. 1995 to 2005.
They won their division?
They won their division that many times.
Oh.
They made it to the World Series 5 times in that time frame. They only won 1 World Series, though. Does that count as a dynasty?
No.
You made it to the World Series 5 times and lost once?
No, not a dynasty.
Okay.
They went that time they went to it?
They won it one of the times they went to it.
No thanks.
Okay. Even winning your division for 11 straight years.
No, and this is from a person who didn't watch any of the games.
Okay. Let's see, next. How about the Yankees of the 90s?
Yes, they are a dynasty.
The Yankees of the 90s won the World Series in 96, 98, 99, and then in 2000 as well. I'm going to count that one because that's basically the same team. So 4 years and 4 wins in 5 years.
Yeah,
6 years.
Yeah, I think the no salary cap cheating Yankees are great.
Okay.
Good team.
Let's go to the next one. How about the San Francisco Giants of the teens? Let me tell you, I'll throw some stats out here.
Okay. All I can remember from this team is Barry Bonds, but I think Barry Bonds was pre-whatever you're talking about.
No, this is after Barry Bonds.
Yeah.
So they won the World Series in 2010, 2012,
Okay.
and 2014. So none consecutive, but every other year.
10, 12, 14?
10, 12, and 14. They
Okay.
won 3 World Series in 5 years.
All right.
But none back-to-back. In between those time frames, they did not make the playoffs, though.
Okay.
So does that count as a dynasty? 3 in 5 years, but you did not
not
compete in those 2 years between.
Was there another dynasty happening at that time that could compete to be a dynasty? Your means to me no.
Not that I
So you know what? San Francisco Giants of the teams, you are a dynasty. Certified Cody Courts dynasty. Whatever that means for you, I hope it helps you sleep at night since you had a bunch of cheating assholes playing on your team for a while. Barry Bonds' head grew a lot.
It did. That's those are my list of dynasties.
That's
Do
a
you
good
have
list.
any? I thought that was just fun to put together.
Let me think. I don't know that I have any that you left off. I liked that you had some that were on the borderline. That was pretty good. So I'll give you some non-sports dynasties just real quick.
Okay.
Tell me, it's got to be a guttural, visceral reaction as to whether or not you think it's a dynasty. Okay, you ready?
Yes.
Superman.
Yes.
Aquaman.
No.
It's pretty good. Okay. Led Zeppelin.
Yes.
That band Lynn who had that song, I can't remember
No.
the name of it. Okay. It's pretty good. You're doing really well.
Okay.
The television show Jeopardy.
Yes.
The television show Dynasty.
Literally, yes. Figuratively, no.
Perfect. Okay. I'll just do a couple more. How about Tiger Woods?
Yes.
Okay. Phil Mickelson.
No.
Right? That's a tough one,
That's
though,
tough.
right? Okay.
I would say no. He did do a lot in a small time. No.
Serena Williams.
Yes.
Venus Williams.
At the beginning of her career, yes.
But it's hard to say,
At
right?
the beginning of her career,
But does
yes.
Serena not make it hard to say Venus is?
Yes.
I think it does.
It
I think
does,
it
but
makes
at
it hard.
the beginning, she started before Serena.
I
Her
agree.
career was better. Yeah, I think she was at the beginning.
Okay. Cody Courts.
Obviously, yes.
Jack Boys.
Who?
Jack Boys.
Jack Boyce. Nope. Burned out
Okay.
too quick.
Untouchables.
Yes.
Cones.
No. We were a one-hit wonder, baby.
All right. What about
Well, actually, not a one-hit wonder. We tried. We plugged along for years and years, and then hit it big, and then died out. So no dynasty there.
Showstoppers?
Yes.
Okay. The Herd.
They did have a lull there, but they brought it back up. So
All right.
yes.
The Herd.
What, 4 championships over 10, 12 years?
3.5
3.5 championships over
over 15 years.
and 2 in a row.
No, over 12 years.
And then we had 2 in a row.
Yeah, we had 2 in a row. And
We won our initial, inaugural year. We won that one.
Yes.
We've been around a long time.
Yeah.
I'm saying yes.
You going to say yes?
I'm saying yes.
I'll go with a yes as well.
Okay.
All right, that's all I have. Do you have anything else?
Dynasty.
Dynasty. Well, if any of you are curious about yourselves, I'm going to give you a little, in the next 45 seconds, taste of not where are they now, but where were they then? There was a news anchor in Southeast Texas named Jim Walker in, I think, the early mid-2000s?
Yes.
Mid to late 2000s for the teens.
Yes.
Jim Walker is now on Twitter. His Twitter handle is JW Loose Cannon, at JW Loose Cannon, and he's apparently a bartender and kind of like an erotic dancer in Dallas now. And I encourage all of you, every single one of you, to go look at his Twitter. Things have changed for the news anchor that used to be in Southeast Texas.
Where are they now? Where were they then?
And that has been the end of the segment. Well, we appreciate you guys for listening. We'll be back at some other point for another amateur hour. Y'all have a great day.
It was good to be back. Good luck.